Hey, if you like BNN Bloomberg's market call and you like looking at people on the internet, looking at stock charts, you are in the right place. We do a daily recap of the top picks of each guest. I do it Monday to Friday around, in the afternoon sometime whenever I get around to uploading the video. So if you like that type of thing, stick around. And without further ado, let's get into the video. What do we have today? We have pretty flat indexes is what we have today. S&P, NASDAQ, Dow's a little bit down, but otherwise flat on the day. TSX is a little bit up, so we're hugging that 50-day moving average, which we like to see. But for all intents and purposes, since April around, we've been just hovering around, kind of flat on the TSX. So Bruce Murray was on Market Call today, and he had some aerospace related picks for his top picks. We had Airbus to begin with. So we'll take a look at the chart here. You can see we got really knocked down, and I always talk about gaps, right? You see this gap right here at between 144 and call it 138 is just waiting to get filled here in this this gap, right? So we'll see what happens. I would say if you go back a little bit, you could see that now it's going to approach an area of resistance at that, I'd call it 137, call it 140 even, because, it'll coincide with the moving averages as well. But we gapped over this. We stayed above it for quite some time. Now we gapped right under it now. So interesting to say the least, how we've filled a gap with a gap in the year. So interesting to see. I don't know what, if that's any kind of official technical indicator, but we are slowly, probably going to fill that gap here if I were to put my money in here. But I'm not touching any of the aircraft manufacturers or airlines with a 10-foot pole. I just don't like the business. It's just way too cyclical and volatile and all that stuff. So not my cup of tea. But if I were to, put on a position, I would want it to fill this gap first, get above the moving averages. But, Boeing also is having some issues, and their stock got really knocked down quite a bit, due to the issues with their manufacturing and alleged, just general problems with their assembly and their quality control. So their stock price took a beating as a result. So, which is, again, I don't like the airlines, too much of a liability in my view. So I'm just not a fan. I mean, if you want to trade this thing, you pick your bottom. Who knows where this thing is going to go? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit COVID lows with Boeing at least. Airbus, it seems like I'm by no means an expert, but they seem to run a tighter ship. You don't hear about parts falling off of their aircrafts. So my money would probably go to Airbus in this respect, which is probably why Bruce Murray has it as a top pick. But again, I'm not a huge fan of the airlines, so I'll just kind of leave it at that. But we are approaching an area of resistance here, so we're probably going to meander a little bit until we could get through that gap, up above, and back on their merry way. I mean, people want to travel, right? And aircrafts are getting better and better, so I don't expect them to completely go away. It's just a little too volatile for my taste, so I'll leave it at that. Equally with Air Canada, really, really tough business to be in the airlines. I'm not an expert in the airline business, but I just see, I see just too much volatility for me here. And the chart just looks ugly, honestly. I mean, it's right now we're, lower highs, lower lows, lower lows, lower lows, lower highs. Everything is just pointing, quite bad. All of your moving averages are downsloping. If you want to pick a bottom for a bounce, $16 is probably where you're going to get that bounce. Unless we're reversing here, could be, but I mean, I don't quite see it. But if you want to play it for a bounce, you grab it at 16 and you probably sell it around 20. That's probably going to be the trading range for some time. I mean, all these outlier moves, with all the COVID uncertainty and everything. And now air travel is, it's returned with a force with all the revenge travel. People want to get back out there. It's hard to say. But if this thing keeps going lower and it breaches that 16, I mean, you're probably looking at 10, right? So, but it's been basing for long enough that you'll probably be staying around this level for some time. But not my cup of tea either. Evertz Technologies. Honestly, I hadn't heard of this one before. It's a small cap trading, here in Canada on the TSX. It's an interesting one. I mean, I had a look at their website, and it's kind of it's quite rudimentary, which you sometimes like to see a very rudimentary website because it means that they really don't need to do much marketing. So, because they're in a very niche space. It's like broadcast. Well, I'll read from their about here. It's Evertz Technologies Limited is a Canada-based company which designs, manufactures, and markets video and audio infrastructure solutions for the television, telecommunications, and new media industries. So as long as they're really getting into the new media, because legacy media is slowly going away. I mean, you could see it with all the Bell Media layoffs recently here in Canada, and just generally speaking, I mean, no one, at least in my demographic, is really consuming news or legacy broadcast, linear television anymore. So, all that stuff is on the way out probably, but, they do mention streaming, and there's some, streaming streaming components and things like that on their website. So maybe this could be an interesting pick, but, small cap, it's a 691 million market cap. They've got a, interesting, I mean, they have a 13 times PE. So yeah, don't know much about the business. I may dig into this a little bit more. My chart doesn't go much further back than 2012, but this thing is just kind of a trading range, but it pays like over 6% dividend yield. So quite nice there, but probably 12 seems like a nice kind of lower bound on here. Probably $12 and up to $15. It's probably, a solid trading range, at least in this, time period. But again, it had a COVID sell-off and then it kind of came back. So it's hovered around between that $11 and $15 for some time. So, an interesting one, quite an interesting one. I'll definitely have to do a little bit more work on it to see if it's something I might want to dip my toe in, but that kind of space is appealing to me if they're, doing the right things and keeping up with the times, but it looks like it. And they seem to be, kind of one of the sole players in this industry. So we'll see. Anyways, if you like this type of thing, please be sure to like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Anything you want is, anything you leave is great for me. It helps the channel grow, and I'm trying to get more followers. So I appreciate if you could do that for me. So until tomorrow, have a great evening, everyone. Take care.